always starts small. That's the thing with Karens, you never really notice them at first, until their obsession starts eating away at your peace. My house sat on the corner lot of our quiet neighborhood, and it wasn't anything fancy, just a modest home with a little front yard, a porch swing, and a perfectly ordinary black trash can I rolled out twice a week. But somehow for Karen, my trash can became a personal enemy. The first time it happened, I thought it was the wind. I came home from work, groceries in my arms, and found my trash can tipped over in the driveway. The bag inside had spilled open, and some old food was scattered across the pavement. Annoying, but nothing unusual. Maybe the garbage truck driver was careless, or maybe it was just one of those small accidents that happen. But the second time, it didn't feel like an accident. The trash can was not just knocked over, it was shoved halfway across my yard, lid open, trash scattered like someone had taken a bat to it. Still, I gave Karen the benefit of the doubt, because at that point she was just the lady next door, who liked to water her flowers. Then came the third time. That's when I caught her in the act. It was a Tuesday morning and I'd left late for work. As I pulled out of the driveway, I glanced back and saw her. Karen, pink jogging suit, sunglasses perched on her head, the universal Karen uniform. She marched up to my trash can, looked around like a thief, and gave it a sharp kick. The puit toppled, trash spilling everywhere. Then she brushed off her hands like she'd done the neighborhood a service. I stopped the car, rolled the window down and shouted, "Hey, what are you doing?" She froze for a moment but recovered quickly. "Your trash can is ugly," she yelled back. "It ruins the look of the neighborhood. We don't need eyesores here." Eyesore. It was a trash can. Everyone on the street had one, but apparently mine was the problem. "Leave my property alone," I warned, but she just smirked and went back inside. That smirk stayed with me the whole day. And when I came home, sure enough, the trash can was on its side again. That's when I realized this wasn't about rules or looks, this was about control. Karen wasn't going to stop. For weeks it became a game to her. Trash day became Karen day. Every time I rolled the bin out, I knew I'd find it on the ground when I returned. Sometimes she'd wait until I wasn't looking. Other times, she'd brazenly kick it over in broad daylight, glaring at me as if daring me to do something. Neighbors saw it too, but nobody wanted to confront her, because Karen was the kind of woman who lived for confrontation. And that's when the frustration turned into determination. I wasn't going to let her keep doing this. If Karen wanted a war over a trash can, then fine, I'd give her one, but on my terms. So I started planning. At first I thought about putting up a camera, but knowing Karen, she'd just claim it was harassment, or find some excuse to get the HOA involved. No, I needed something more clever, something subtle, something she wouldn't see coming until it was too late. And that's when the idea came to me. A trap. It started with some modifications to the trash can itself. I drilled small holes in the bottom and attached a thin, nearly invisible cord. The cord ran along the side of the driveway through a little pulley system I rigged up and connected to a trigger mechanism. It wasn't dangerous, nothing that would harm her, but it was humiliating. My plan was simple. The moment Karen tried to tip the can, the mechanism would activate, and she'd end up with a very wet surprise. I set it up the night before trash day. I filled a small bucket with water and balanced it carefully above the side of my porch. One tug on the cord, and the bucket would tip, drenching anyone foolish enough to mess with the can. That night I barely slept. I was too excited, too nervous. Would it work? Would she take the bait? Morning came, and sure enough, Karen was out for her usual walk. I watched from the window, heart pounding, as she slowed near my driveway. She glanced around just like before, then strutted toward the can. She didn't hesitate. With her usual smug expression, she kicked the can, only this time the cord pulled tight. The trigger snapped, and the bucket tipped. Splash! A wave of water poured down directly onto Karen, soaking her from head to toe. Her sunglasses slipped, her hair flattened, and she stood there, stunned and dripping like a drowned cat. I couldn't help it. I laughed, loudly. She spun toward me, fury in her eyes, but the damage was done. For the first time, Karen wasn't the one in control. I was. And in that moment, I realized something. Karen wasn't just mad about the trash can. She was mad because she couldn't boss me around, and now she knew she'd lost. But oh, I had no idea how far she'd go to get even. Karen stood frozen in my driveway, her pink tracksuit clinging to her like wet paper, her face twisted with pure rage. Water dripped from her hair down her nose, splashing on the pavement. For a moment I thought she might laugh it off, maybe stomp away, muttering. But no, this was Karen, and Karen never walked away quietly. "You think this is funny?" she screamed, her voice cracking. "You just assaulted me!" I stepped out onto the porch, arms crossed. "Assault? You kicked over my trash can. You got wet. That's karma, Karen." She gasped like I'd slapped her. "Karma? You think you can humiliate me like this in front of the whole neighborhood? I'll have the HOA fine you so badly you'll wish you never moved here." I could see curtains twitching in nearby houses. Neighbors were watching, but nobody dared step in. They all knew what I knew now. Karen thrived on chaos, and if you stood in her way, you became her target. She stormed off, dripping water down the sidewalk, muttering threats as she disappeared into her house. For the next 2 days, I braced for retaliation. Would she call the cops, file some ridiculous complaint with the HOA, knock over my can again out of spite? But nothing happened. And honestly, that was almost worse. Because silence from Karen wasn't peace, it was preparation. Sure enough, the following week the war escalated. I came home to find a bright yellow slip taped to my door. Notice of HOA violation. The offense? Unsightly trash container visible from the street. My stomach turned. Karen had filed an official complaint. I knew this wasn't about the trash can. This was about revenge. She couldn't stand being embarrassed, so she was using the HOA as her weapon. I called the HOA office and explained the situation, but the woman on the phone just sighed. "Sir, if there's a complaint, we're obligated to investigate. You'll need to move your trash bin into your garage or behind a fence." It was absurd. Everyone's trash cans were visible on collection day, but Karen's fingerprints were all over this. I moved the can into the garage to avoid fines, but I wasn't done fighting. I decided it was time to expose Karen for what she was, a bully, so I upgraded my trap. This time I installed a small motion-activated camera hidden inside a decorative birdhouse on my porch. It wasn't obvious, but it had a perfect view of the driveway. I wanted proof. If Karen so much as breathed on my trash can, I'd have her on tape. It didn't take long. 2 days later, around midnight, the camera caught her creeping across my yard with a flashlight. She wasn't just kicking the can. She was dragging it into the street and leaving trash scattered everywhere. Then she strutted back like she'd just conquered Rome. I couldn't believe it. Who does that? Over a trash can. The next morning, I emailed the footage directly to the HOA board with the subject line, "Harassment by HOA member." I didn't expect much, but at least the truth was on record. By evening, I had a reply. "Thank you for providing this evidence. We will be reviewing this incident immediately." For the first time in weeks, I felt like maybe, just maybe, the tide was turning. But Karen wasn't done. The very next day, she stormed up to my porch, pounding on my door. I opened it cautiously, camera recording from my phone this time. "You think you're clever, don't you?" she snapped, eyes blazing. "Sending your little videos to the HOA trying to make me look bad. Well, guess what? I run this neighborhood. You don't. People listen to me, not you." I held the phone up, the red recording dot clearly visible. "Say that again, Karen." She froze, realizing her words were being captured. Then she let out a shriek and stomped off. It was almost comical, if it wasn't so exhausting. 2 days later, the HOA sent out an official notice to all residents. It said harassment, vandalism, and tampering with others' property would not be tolerated. Anyone caught violating these rules could face heavy fines or even legal action. It didn't mention Karen by name, but everyone knew. Everyone had seen her wet tracksuit that day, heard her screaming in the street, and now the HOA was finally on my side. For the first time since this war started, I felt vindicated, but the final blow came a week later. It was trash day again. I rolled out my can, half expecting the usual battle, but this time Karen didn't show. Hours passed, No pink tracksuit, no smug kicks, nothing. Then I learned why. Apparently, after the HOA's warning, another neighbor came forward with their own story. Karen had been vandalizing their property too. And another neighbor admitted she'd harassed their teenage son for parking too close to her driveway. The board had received multiple complaints, and now Karen was under official review. By the end of the month, Karen was fined heavily. And her power in the... Well, I still roll my trash can out twice a week. Only now it stands tall and untouched, right where it belongs. Sometimes I catch Karen peeking through her blinds, glaring at me like she's plotting her next move. But she never comes near my can again, because she knows she walked right into my trap, and this time there's no getting out. If you loved watching HOA Karen finally get what she deserved, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insane HOA drama, Karen. Meltdowns and the sweetest revenge stories you'll ever hear. Your support keeps these wild stories coming every week.